Hello crafty friends, this is the Papered Chef. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the Bunny Builder Punch to create both a small bunny and a large bunny with the help of your Brother ScanNCut. What you will need for this tutorial is one of our Stampin Up punches, and I hope you have the Bunny Builder so you can follow along, or that you'll order it at the link above, right here, that's my store, or a punch that you may already have. Okay, and you're going to need a light color ink because we're going to be adding some dimension to it, and you might need some glue if you want to assemble the project. So grab your punch, put this on pause, and follow along. The first thing you need to do is punch out your bunny on a solid piece of paper, okay? So these are the parts to our Bunny Builder Punch. I did a whole video on this. That was the last video I produced, and I showed you at least 10 different bunnies that my friend Gigi and I created. So please check out that video, which will be linked at the end of this video. Okay, so you have your Bunny Builder pieces, and you may be saying to yourself, well, those are so super adorable, but they're pretty small to work with. Whether you have to wear reading glasses like I do, or whether you have a kids craft club like I do, or work with kids crafts, you might be saying these are really small pieces and hard to manipulate. So I need to make these a little bit larger, and then I'll be able to work with those pieces a little bit better. Okay, but if you're like me, you just love the punch as it is, but just wish it was a little bit bigger. So now you need to you've punched out your bunny on a solid piece of cardstock. Now you need to take that and add some contrast to it. So I'm gonna put that Whisper White, I punched it out of Whisper White. The reason I like to use Whisper White is it's not very fibrous, it's really good paper with a smooth finish. And now I'm getting clean edges of my bunny. So this is gonna be something easy for the ScanNCut to recognize. Now I'm gonna stick that onto a piece of black cardstock, only just for contrast. Okay, so the white will contrast against the black, making it very easy for the ScanNCut to recognize this. Okay, now let's make some room, and I'm gonna get out my somewhat sticky mat because recently I did a tutorial on how to restick the Brother ScanNCut mats. So I used some two-way glue, and my mat is kind of sticky, so I don't really need to add any painter's tape. I just need to stick this on, give it a little rub, okay, and now my piece of cardstock is stuck to my mat, okay? So I'm using the Brother ScanNCut CM350 or ScanNCut 2. I'm putting one hand on the mat, and I'm gonna pull the machine closer so you don't miss any steps. I'm gonna load my scanning mat. Okay, let's move this to the side. There's a bit of a glare. Focus my camera, and let's do this. I'm gonna load with this button here. And it didn't quite load straight. I know that right away. I'm gonna I was holding my hand there, but I lifted it. I should not have done that. Okay, load the mat. So there it is. Now what we wanna do, just so you have the big picture, is we are going to scan this bunny in, the bunny shapes. We're gonna use the scan feature. Instead of direct cut, which I normally use, that's when we're not saving anything, we're just directly cutting out things. We need to use scan to cut data. We're not using this one like we usually do in most of my tutorials. I've done a few tutorials on the scan to cut data as well. You want scan to cut data because we need data to store on this bunny, and then we're going to use that data and then we're going to enlarge it. So black and white recognition mode is fine. It has to scan the whole mat, even though my bunny is just on one piece of the mat. Okay, so the idea is we're scanning in these shapes, then we're going to go get them we're going to save them, we're going to go get them, and we're going to enlarge them. That's the idea. Because although the bunny is super adorable, and my friend and I made like more than 10 bunnies, this is just something that's just equally as adorable and easier to work with as the shapes are larger. So here, let's see how it did with the recognition. You don't want to just put shapes right onto your Brother ScanNCut mat. You want to put them on a nice contrasting background like I did on the black, because it gives it an easier recognition time for the Brother ScanNCut. Okay, so you have three options here. The first one is the outer lines you want to select. The next one is the inside and outside of the lines that you want to select. And the third option is, this third option is just lines, but we're going to select the first option. We just want the outside lines, the outside of our image. Okay, now let's go ahead and zoom in to just the bunny. Okay, we just want that piece only. There's a little speck on top. Just a little speck. We'll deselect him. We could also edit it out later. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say preview and there we have the bunny shapes, and I'm happy with the bunny shapes. I'm gonna just go ahead and save them. So now where do you wanna save them is the question. Do you wanna save them on your machine, on the USB stick, like a thumb drive? Do you wanna save them to Brother Canvas Workspace online? I've done videos on how to set up that account online. That's free to use, cloud-based software. Or just to your computer straight using the USB cord. We're gonna go ahead and save this to the machine. Okay, so just, it's easier. I mean, that's the whole reason I love this machine, is it's standalone. You can save things right to the machine. You don't have to use your computer. Okay, I like that about the ScanNCut. Okay, so it saved it. It said it's number 113, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now we're gonna go home, okay? Delete all patterns. Yes, we're deleting all patterns. Believe it or not, we delete all patterns because we have it saved. Now, we have it saved, so the next step in the big picture is we're going to retrieve the bunny. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're retrieving the small bunny. We're gonna enlarge it, and then I'll show you what you can do with it. Okay, pattern. We're going to pattern. So we were back at the home screen, we went to pattern, and now we want save data. Okay, save data. Where do we want to retrieve the saved data from? Our machine. That's where we just saved it to. So from our machine. Go to page 10, which you can go backwards, and I'm just going to go right here to the last item I saved. Remember that ScanNCut told us it was item 113. Okay, so now we say okay. Now we're going to resize this, but you want to resize all the parts in proportion to each other. Okay, so this is important. You're going into the editing mode. You're going to select. See, right now just one little hand is selected. You're going to go in and you're going to select everything. We're just going to draw around it. Just draw around this here. Select everything. Just to show you what I'm using that rectangle only to make a point that I have to select those bunny parts. See how they're all selected? Very important. We're going to say okay. While they are still selected, you are going to hit the group button. The group will group these together as one object. Okay. Now I can move this around. See that? That's very important. So now when I resize it, it's going to stay in proportion, all the pieces. But if I leave it up in the corner and I try to resize it, and it just won't let me. See that? I can't resize it. There's no place for it. There's no room for it to grow. When the ScanNCut needs to resize items from the inside out. So when you resize something, a good rule of thumb is to just put it in the middle of the mat and then resize it. Okay, so let's go ahead and resize it. I'm going to make it 6 inches wide. Okay. And I've done, some experimentation, and 6 inches wide is good because I can fit 2 of these on a piece of cardstock. That's why I'm using the width of 6 inches. Okay, we say okay. Now, because I'm doing good on time, I'm looking at the time on my camera, I'm going to show you another little trick. So we're going to go ahead and we have one set of bunnies at 6 inches wide. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that. I'm going to go into the resize and I'm going to say I want 2 of those. And I'm going to say okay. Now with this one, see how it's not really going to fit? See, watch. I put it down here. My cardstock, just so you know, here's my piece of cardstock. We're using a piece of powder pink Stampin Up cardstock. It is only 8.5 by 11. Therefore, how am I going to fit these on an 8.5 by 11? Well, I could waste some space and go over this way. But let's say I just want them to be 11 inches down this way. That way I have a whole lot of space on the right, which I can use for other things. Okay, so one trick is to do this. You go into this, you're going into the, you just say okay, and we select one of these shapes, and we go into editing mode, and we can just go into where it says resize. Okay, we didn't need to do all those extra steps, we could have went right to resize. Okay, we're going to use the rotate option. Okay, so this is this rotate option. And usually when you want to rotate things, again, you move them away from the sides, because sometimes, it can't rotate as easily if it's not facing the right way. Let's see if that works. Okay, let's see. I'm just going to move things around a little bit. I'm just flipping I'm flipping 90 degrees. I think that's how I did it before. I can't remember. I'm just going to flip them until that looks good. Yeah, that was it. Or it's one of the options, I think. It's one of the options on how I got these to fit in the 11 inches. Yep, I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, there's a few ways. It's like putting together a puzzle. There's a few different ways you can get these to fit 11 inches, but I just kind of you have to kind of flip your bunnies around. Okay, so you have your objects and you can just rotate them. So you just do that in that same editing mode where you're resizing objects. I'm happy with that. That means that I'm just going to go ahead and say okay. And I'm going to say okay again. And now we can cut these. So we're going to just move this out of the way so you don't miss any steps. Remember, we have our bunnies still on here. We can't cut them yet. We have to put our, I'm going to put this piece of powder pink cardstock by Stampin' Up onto the mat. The mat's pretty sticky. Still, you have to give it a good rub. Okay. And maybe at this point, just because I don't want to risk messing up my bunnies, I'm going to use a little bit of painter's tape just to make sure. This is pretty thick cardstock. So just put a couple pieces of painter's tape on your mat. All right, back to what we're doing. So I need to just show you, I'm using the CM350 or ScanNCut 2, but you can follow along with any ScanNCut. I mean, it doesn't matter. All of the consoles are the same. And if you have an auto blade technology, you just don't need to set the blade depth. But we do, because we have a ScanNCut 2. I'm using a blade depth of 5 with powder pink cardstock by Stampin' Up. Powder pink's a great color. It was last year's in color, and it's still in style now. It's really, really cool kind of pink. All right, so we're ready to cut. We're going to cut, and we're just going to say start. And stick around, my crafty friends, because I've already have a finished project too. And we're going to do something with this bunny that we've enlarged. So please feel free to comment in the video about what you'll do with your bunnies that you're going to cut out, or what you're going to do with your punches. What you're going to do with your dies. I showed how to do this with die cuts. In a previous video, I took a die cut from and we used the Big Shot. We cut it out, the teapot, we enlarged it, using the same method I'm showing you right now. All right, almost there. The bunny is finishing up its cut. Okay, now let's just say finished, unload the mat. And you see that didn't take very long, and we have a big bunny now. So let's show you what we're doing with this bunny. I love bunnies. This is Easter time. This is such a great craft. Well, I'm making these for the entire craft club. And they're going to get a bag of bunnies, and they're also going to get other parts, and they're going to be able to do things to their bunnies and decorate them in all kinds of ways because they have loads of embellishments. So there's our piece of cardstock. Remember I said let's not go over to this side, because now you can make a bookmark. You save some of the, if you start moving things all around your mat, you lose the options of what you can do with your leftover cardstock. So now I have enough for a bookmark over there. All right, so now we need our mat again, and we need to get our bunny parts. And we are going to do something with them. We're going to give them some dimension, ink around them, and then I'm going to show you a finished project, as I always do. So those that stay around to the end of my videos get extra little bonuses. Okay, so here we are. We have bunny parts. They're nice. They're cardstock. They're nice and thick. This is powder pink. All right, so now we're going to take our, I tried using already, my first project I used this gray granite color, but now I think I'm going to try, this is the first time I'm going to try this soft seafoam for the same method. So I'm changing colors because I think the color I used in my example I'm going to show you is kind of dark. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting some ink on a stamping block. That's all I'm doing. And I just do that because it's a little better than dipping straight into the ink. You can kind of control how much ink goes on your little sponges. And I'm using these little finger sponge daubers. The reason I'm using this is because I have other sponges I use, but this one helps me get inside there. It helps me get, it's the only size sponge I could find that would help me get right in there to ink around the inside of these bunny ears, because it's like the perfect size. So I've done some experimentation, and not only was this a good bunny size because 2 fit on a mat, they're easy sizes to work with, but also my sponge fits right in there. So what I'm doing is I'm adding a little border of ink. Now that always gives whatever dies, you can do this for your die cuts, you can do it for your things that you cut with the Brother ScanNCut, or your die cutting machine, your punches. Whenever you put little whenever you ink around the edges of something, it just gives it that extra dimension. Sometimes you want to give it dimension, sometimes you want to give it a vintage look, depending on the color. And this is just a way to do that. And not only that, you can use foam dimensionals also to help add that dimension. But I mean, just look at that bunny head versus the one I didn't ink. And you can add as many layers of ink as you want. Let me put that next to it. See, there's just a big difference there. And I didn't do anything except put a little ink around the edges. And then you can just sort of keep going with it. But you get the idea. And then we do that too. So let's put some more ink on the sponge. And we can do that to the tail. We can do it to the body, to the... It's like, I don't want to stop. This is so relaxing and so much fun. You can cut out all your parts. Then you can ink them. And okay, so we have the parts. We've inked them. Then you take dimensionals and you pop them up and you create your project. So let me show you that now. Let me move this out of the way, and I always like to close my ink so I don't get it all over my table. Get this out of the way, this out of the way. And now voila, my crafty friends, here is a finished bunny. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken, this was a little bit different shade of pink. Okay, let me focus that. It's a little bit different shade of pink. This was pink pirouette. And so I have this is to show you what the original bunny looks like from the Bunny Builder Punch. And it was in the last video I produced for YouTube. So please check out all the different projects you can make with the Bunny Builder Punch. And I mean, he's already cute, but then when you put him on a bigger, when you make him bigger and you put him on a background and you can just do things to him, then he's even cuter. Okay, so let's show you how I got there. So what I did is I got the heart. Now you can cut out the heart. My crafty friends know how to find a heart in the patterns, the built-in patterns and shapes inside Brother ScanNCut. Okay, but I just took the heart right out of the punch because I like to do, I'm going to let the, craft club pick out things and they can punch the heart. So that's how I created the little heart so this is the dog builder punch. I've also shown how to do things with this punch on videos like masking and things. So you got the little heart. That's how I did let's see, let's get the little, here. That's how I did the little face, upside down heart. Okay. And then I used some Google eyes. And then I made a carrot. And yes, I used the Brother ScanNCut to make the carrot. Okay, and then I used some the carrot is, by the way, 1.25 inches high using the Brother ScanNCut, the building carrot. And then I used some Easter grass to put some grass on the carrot. And I used some little sequins by Stampin Up. And I used some Wink of Stella. That's this glitter brush for the tail. So let me focus that in so you can see the after bunny. So this one I inked. When I did my dimension on this one, I inked with a gray granite color. And while I like it, I just think I like the sea foam better, the one I just used just now, because that's a little bit lighter. So there's my carrot, 1.25 inches high. And then I used this little Stampin' Up marker. That's the last step. Oop, let's move this out of the way. Okay, the last step is I just added the little whiskers on the mouth. I drew those in with the Stampin' Up marker called Basic Black. Okay, kind of a must-have if if you have products. This is a must-have, and so is the Wink of Stella. Okay, so if you like to get the Bunny Builder Punch, it's part of our annual catalog. You can make these cute little bunnies, which I'm going to link to right now in the video, somewhere on the screen. Oops, I'm showing you the wrong punch. That was the doggy. Here it is, and there's my website. So thank you for watching. This is the Paper Chef, and see you next time.